Support for TAGSPodcast is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Their products are precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped's Performance Package, the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Join over 7 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code TAGSPOD, TAGSPOD, at manscaped.com. If my math is correct, that's about 14 million balls. What is going on? You are watching and listening to Tags Live, and I'm talking about Talk About Gay Sex, the live edition. We are here every Wednesday night in front of a virtual audience. This is episode 438. I'm your host, Stevie, alongside my favorite person that I'm staring at, Kodi Maurice Doggette. How the hell are you doing, Kodi?
Hello, darling. You're my favorite person that I'm staring at, too.
You're the only person I'm staring at.
Exactly.
Listen, we have got a jam-packed show for you, and I can't be playing with you right now. We are celebrating our 6-year anniversary, and how much fun did we have on episode 437 to really pull together all of us?
It was so much fun. Just the camaraderie and the feeling that I got. There was so much positive, beautiful energy flowing. The chemistry was popping. I just had so much fun. Jeremy and Lincoln need to come on every single week. That's it. I've decided.
It would be great, but you really do hold down the fort, Kodi.
Oh, thank you,
And it was really great. And we are celebrating our 6-year anniversary. 6 years of podcasting. No short feat, y'all. Lots of stuff to look forward to on our 6-year anniversary. One of them is going to be on this particular podcast, as we will continue to unveil special guests. That's our motto on this platform, is to tell people stories and introduce you to people that are really making a change in the community, or your health, or your sexuality, sex positivity. That's kind of our game on our 6-year anniversary for this show. Speaking of which, we've got a special guest coming on a little bit later to the show, Johnny, he's going by, and he's got a story that you've got to hear, and some amazing information that we really want to share with you. So stay tuned for that, coming up a little bit later in the show. But we can't help but talk about our 6-year anniversary. And one of the things is, when you write into us, we are always a part of that. And I want to shout out to John San Nicolas on Instagram, who wrote into us, and he says, "Hi, congrats on 6 years. Just wanted to write a note. I happened to start listening the first week you put Tags out." So I'm assuming 6 years ago. Wow.
That's amazing.
I appreciate the insight and conversation so much, you guys. I got my husband Patreon. Thank you so much for his birthday, and your pod has given us so much to talk about. Cheers to more success. Well, John,
so cute.
Thank you so much, and thank you for being a loyal listener for all of this time. We really did have a fun time, all of us coming together, which I think is really special, because I think each and every one of us have a unique perspective on this show about our sexuality. Each and every one of us have seen our sexuality, no matter when you came in, whether you came in or Lincoln came in midway through, your sexuality, your life has changed in the midst of this 6-year period. And you guys add so much. I was thinking of it right before we went live, Kodi, though, and thinking about our special guest that's going to come on, that you are the fan favorite. So I watch a lot of, which I love. And that's a great...
Oh, you're making me blush.
You're Miss Congeniality and a fan.
Thank you.
You're the fan favorite. I mean, I think, not to disrespect myself or any of the other
Yeah.
co-hosts. I think we all have something that we offer on the show. But I was thinking about it. You're kind of fan favorite in many ways, and
Oh, that
I
means
love
a lot.
that. Yeah,
Thank
absolutely.
you. I'll take Miss Congeniality. I don't know about fan favorite because I feel like we all have people that love us and adore, like love to hear our perspectives and things of that nature. So I don't know if I can take fan favorite as my title. I think we're all fan favorites in our own way. So I share the title with everybody, but Miss
Aw.
Congeniality for sure, because I'm the nice one.
You're definitely the nice one. We have so much to get through, though. And, we talked so much. We were talking about it on episode 437 about how to, in New York City and even in London and other parts of the country, people are getting robbed, and they're often using facial recognition to steal funds out of your phone. I couldn't help but talk about this man in San Francisco, my old stomping ground, that was robbed, beaten beyond recognition in San Francisco in an assault outside of the popular San Francisco leather bar known as Powerhouse on Sunday morning. He had severe internal and external injuries, and he suffered a heart attack. And that's also because when he was being beaten up, he also had high cholesterol. And so he had a heart attack on top of it. He's doing okay. He will recover, thank goodness. He shared some photos that I'll post on TAGSPodcast.com saying that he was really banged up. I know you saw the photos as well of kind of the before and after of what he looked like. The victim was unable to provide details regarding what led to his injuries, but police officials told the outlet that they responded outside of the bar of somebody that just essentially, it was a hate crime, right, Kodi?
That's nothing. There's nothing else to call it but a hate crime.
And it struck me because somebody wrote that set up a GoFundMe because he lost his front tooth as well as all the injuries. He is a self-employed person like I am, much like you are, Kodi. We know what that's like when you have to pay for your own insurance, it's not easy. He has a sizable, I'm sure, medical bills on his way. There's a GoFundMe that I want to put up on TAGSPodcast.com so that you can, if you have a little extra, maybe consider helping him out. His name is Miles. He is a leader in the San Francisco Bay Area community, and he's been doing a lot of work in the community for him, representing San Francisco. And he needs a little help right now. And so I will post this on TAGSPodcast.com. I don't know, Kodi, did you want to add to this?
I'm glad you're talking about this. It's, we keep saying we have to be safe out there, but sometimes you can't really tell how to be the safest possible. Anybody can get gay bashed because that's what this basically is. There's no ifs, ands, or buts around it. Anybody can be gay bashed. I know people that have been gay bashed, and it's very traumatizing. We have to be there to support our community, our brothers and sisters, and non-binary folks that are part of our community, and just continue to love one another. Says Miss Congeniality.
Oh, I love it. And I know I said his name is Miles. His name is Barry Miles, just to clarify that. I will post this on tagspodcast.com. If you feel like you want to support him, that would be a good thing. Okay. Well, I've mentioned that I'm going on an upcoming gay cruise for Vakaya Cruise Line starting this Sunday. I'm very excited about it. There is a current one by Atlantis that is currently a sail in the Caribbean as well. And Atlantis, as you may or may not know, was the premier cruise line for gay cruise travel. And if you know anything about how they work, these gay companies charter these cruise lines, and they work with major cruise lines. So the one I'm going on is with Celebrity Cruise Line. The one that's currently afloat is Royal Caribbean. Yes, Royal Caribbean. Harmony of the Seas. Well, They are clamping down on the current cruise that is afloat right now, and they're forbidding making sexually explicit content on the ship. And they're particularly targeting people that have OnlyFans accounts or just for fans account, because they've noticed that people that have these accounts are producing this kind of content on there. And they told Rich Campbell, who runs Atlantis Cruise Lines, to put it in the handbook notes that we will no longer want to be associated with this, and you need to tell your passengers that you cannot put this kind of content on there that's sexually active and get content out of it. We won't allow this. The CEO and founder, Rich Campbell, told BuzzFeed the new policy was created at the request of the contracted cruise lines who didn't want their brands connected with the sexually explicit content. So he, as a businessman who runs Atlantis Cruise, essentially is saying, this was, if we're going to do this cruise, this is what they're telling me that's a deal breaker for future cruises. So this is in the contract. You need to tell your customers, your clients, that we will not have this happen anymore. You know, at first, Kodi, when I thought of this, not that I was going to show a video of myself getting pounded on the balcony next week on my
We could sell
cruise.
it. We could sell it. If you want to do that, let me know, okay?
Let me just tell you a little background. So the cruise I'm going on has a upper deck that's a basketball court that they turn into a red light district after a certain time of the day. All of the parties are half naked as it is. Then they go into another part of the cruise where they encourage you take off more clothes, and those parties go into the wee hours of the morning where you know sex is going to be happening. There is no shortage of promotion of sex, encouragement of sex happening on these cruises. All they're saying is you can't do these types of things. I'm kind of here for it, even though I feel it would be a great content for OnlyFans creators. It's just, sorry, no.
Okay. I hear your no, and I counter you. Yes, I need I need this type of content. I just jacked off to a cruise video the other night. It was on the balcony. It was beautiful, and can I say who? It was Austin Avery. It was fantastic, and I need this type of content out there. It's just beautiful, and I think it's amazing. I love a great cruise pounding. As long as all parties are consenting to be videotaped, I don't see a problem with it. If I spent $10,000 on a cruise, there's no way you would be able to tell me that I would not be filming. I think that this is just another way to recoup that money, and I think just like Airbnbs, you have to expect this type of fraternization to be going down on the cruise. So I don't understand why they think that it's going to tarnish their brand if gay people are filmed having sex on their boat. I don't know if it's just gay people or if it's straight people. I have to do a little bit of research. I have to build up my stamina in order to go watch some straight porn and see if they're actually filming on the cruise as well. Because I haven't watched straight porn in years.
Well, let me just read you what they wrote to their guests. They wrote, any guest who posts or publishes an explicit and publicly visible photo or video will be asked to leave the ship with no refund. This also applies to any private media posts, whether or behind a paywall, that identify or could identify either Atlantis, our vendor, brands, their properties, or any other guests with or without permission. So essentially, you are signing a contract when you are signing and agreeing to a contract when you do this. So you can do whatever you want, I think is the name of the game. But if you get caught, they have every right as a business to ask you to leave.
Okay.
And it's just one of those things that, it's one of those things where a lot of people, celebrities, throw parties these days. And I used to throw this party here, and everyone asked me, why don't I throw this party anymore? I did a masquerade ball. It was called XXXmas Party. And I didn't ask for everyone's cell phone, but I probably, if I ever did another party, I probably wouldn't, but I could have, because I did have certain sex positive acts happening at my
Mhm.
XXXmas party that I may or may not have wanted to get out there. I think there is a level where you want people to feel sex positive, you want people to feel comfortable. These cruise lines are doing everything to make it so sex positive and freeing
Mhm.
and have the best experience, post everywhere, but there's a cutoff point that they are
Mhm.
putting their foot down. I'm not mad at it. I know it probably sucks for some of these content creators, but listen, not gonna. I mean, if you get caught, these are the consequences. I
They're
am
kicking
not
you
mad
off
at.
in the port. I
They're
can't
kicked.
imagine.
Yeah, no, they will. I've seen for other things like drugs, they've kicked people off
Oh.
for, and they are not afraid to do that. So, you know what? I'm not mad at it. I think what goes on in Vegas stays in Vegas. What goes on the cruise should stay on the cruise. And they don't want, the brand is really doing a good job of incorporating, hey, we're making all these opportunities for you to have a sex positive experience,
Mhm.
but you cannot use, do not film it and make it part of your brand. It's not that hard of a concept to understand, and I'm here for it. You still want to push back, I can tell by your
Yeah, because
pursed
I
lips.
don't think that they're
Sunny also has pursed lips when she's on the show too, on The View.
Just one more thing we have in common. Yeah, I do think that I don't really think that they're looking out for the people on the cruise, because I that was an important part of my statement, was that as long as all the parties are knowing that they're being filmed and they consent to actually being being disseminated, I think that it's okay. But I think they're looking out for their brand. They don't want to be associated with gay sex, and that to me seems a little bit
Mm.
homophobic, a little
Oh,
tricky, a little bit, yeah.
not just gay sex, but full on porn, naked. What brand does Dunkin' Donuts want to be associated with sex in general? No. I mean, it's just full on sex on the Royal Caribbean. I'm just making this up. Royal
Yeah.
Caribbean cruise, or the one that I'm going on. Any type of sex. It's just, I think the brand is doing a really good job of working with our community to have these cruise lines. Okay, it's money. I get it. But they are
$10,000.
really pushing and letting us have these experiences on this cruise. All they're saying is you cannot post about this kind of thing and think that you're going to get away with it. It's just not cool. I'm okay with it. I think you have to put your foot down. Listen, for this show in particular,
Mhm.
for smaller, we're not having sex on this show, and
I was
we
gonna say,
get we
don't worry.
get I mean, don't get me started on the little things what we can't get in terms of advertisement, in terms of
Yeah,
Patreon
I
to
know.
support the show. We can't even get little things based on little things that we're saying on this show. So now you make it amplified with a large company. And I'm sorry, if we're getting it on our end, on our small podcast level, then I am okay with a large company like that putting their foot down too, because it's a trickle down economic moment. And I am
I
here for it.
I see your point. I do not agree, because again, I'm looking at it like an Airbnb. If you go and you spend your money at an Airbnb, nobody's going to tell me that I'm not going to have sex. If I wanted to record it, I'm going to record it. And if I want to use it for my OnlyFans, then that is my personal decision, because I paid for this space. I am,
But
this is
did
my,
you pay, but legally, did you pay for the space to then put that space out there into the world
Mhm.
that could be recognizable and come back and affect the owner of that condo, that property's business in the long run? So I don't know that you agreed with that, and they can put things in the contract like they are putting in this contract that you cannot
Mhm.
do that.
Mhm.
And they're making you sign. I guarantee
Yeah.
you, when you come on as a guest, they are making you sign that. And if you agree to that, you're agreeing to the contract that says you
Yeah.
will not do that. If you don't do that, I watch a lot of Judge Judy, and
Clearly, I can see.
the contract is
I
within the
love
four
it.
corners of this. You sign this piece of paper.
Don't bang on the table.
Just saying, don't get me all Judge Judy. And you know what?
It's time.
It's
I have
time
one
to
more
move
point.
on. You got one more second to say your point.
I forgot it. Let's just bring Johnny up.
Yes. Hey guys, Stevie here of TAGSPodcast, and you probably heard me talk a few times about going to the naked beach last summer. Looking forward to this summer. Well, the first time I went last summer, I was trying to clean up since I was going to be exposing all of my body, and one of the things I wanted to do was trim my hairy bush on my balls, and I used disposable razors. Big mistake, as I was in a hurry. You got to get the ferry early in the morning, and I was quickly trying to shave my balls with this disposable razor and nicked and cut up my balls. Oh my gosh, I wanted to be an exhibitionist, but I was too busy covering up my balls in fear that you were going to see all the nicks and cuts. Not sexy. Not a good idea. And that's why I'm really happy to tell you about the Performance Package 4.0, which has arrived by Manscaped, and it is a game changer. In this package, you'll find their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, Crop Preserve ball deodorant, Crop Reviver toner, Performance Boxer briefs, and a travel bag to hold your goodies. I love this travel bag. I use it everywhere I go. First off, the Lawnmower 4.0. This trimmer is the future of grooming and, dare I say, the greatest ball trimmer ever. Their fourth generation trimmer features a cutting edge ceramic blade, so it reduces grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin safe technology. The Lawnmower 4.0 is waterproof, and it also has a 4000K LED spotlight. You need a more precise shave. Because this trimmer is waterproof, you can say goodbye to the mess on the bathroom floor. You thought that was good, but want to take your groomer game even further to the next level? The Performance Package 4.0 also includes the Weed Whacker nose and ear hair trimmer. The Weed Whacker is also waterproof and provides proprietary skin-safe technology, which helps reduce nicks, snags, and tugs in those delicate nose holes. Their Crop Preserver ball deodorant and Crop Reviver ball toner will change the way you approach your hygiene routine. Manscaped even threw in 2 free gifts to their Performance Package 4.0. The Manscaped Boxers and the Shed Travel Bag. Bring your comfort and boxers to another level. It's time to take care of yourself, so go to manscaped.com and get 20% off plus free shipping with the code TAGSPOD. That's TAGSPOD. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code TAGSPOD at manscaped.com. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. And you know how to do it. It's our special guest, which I'm very excited. Hello, hello, hello.
Hello, hello.
We want to really welcome our special guest this week, Johnny, looking all shower, squeaky clean and fresh.
Hi,
for our
gorgeous.
show.
Got me one.
Okay, good. Who has a story to tell. But before we get into your story, I have to say, we were talking offline a minute ago, and in our episode on episode 437, our 6-year anniversary, we were talking, somehow dodgeball came up. And can you just tell us what you told us offline?
So it's funny that you guys, I guess I should say Kodi, does dodgeball. I got super, super excited because we actually have dodgeball. I didn't tell you guys this offline, but the league is called Hot Mess Sports.
Oh, love it.
And let me tell you, by the end of dodgeball, we're all hot mess because we've gone out Saturday, we're hungover Sunday, and then we're doing dodgeball. But yeah, no, and we're my team is second in rankings right now.
Congratulations.
So we have about 4 weeks left. Yeah.
I love it.
So
Well, Johnny is joining us from Oklahoma, Oklahoma City, correct? Where you currently
correct.
reside.
Yeah.
And you originally reached out to us because you wanted advice, and you weren't on the show, but we gave you advice. One of the things that you wanted advice from was because, and you're going to tell us a little bit more about the story, is that you got HIV and you really feel like you were misdiagnosed. You were diagnosed with HIV in 2021, but you really think that maybe you got it earlier on. You were married to a man at the
2015 is when I was misdiagnosed. 2021 is when the actual diagnosis came to fruition. Yeah.
Wow.
and to finally set the stage, you were married to a man at the time, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
So I want you to pick it up from here and tell us the story that you told me about finding out that you were HIV positive.
So, I mean, that story. So basically, I had gotten married at 22. I'd gotten married 2 months after knowing this person. So I advised knowing somebody longer than 2 months.
Okay.
And quickly found out that, like, we're going to be very sex open. And like you said, I live in Oklahoma, so tradition is very strong here. And so getting married, I thought, I'm going to have this traditional marriage where it's closed and it's just between us.
Mhm.
Skipping forward a couple of years and realizing that I'm going to have to give at some point, because it's come to a point of, like, divorce has been threatened a couple of times. And that's where tradition comes in and says, we don't get divorced, we work through it.
Mhm.
In an ideal world, you would work through it. So, hosting orgies, hosting parties, going to jockstrap parties, being placed in some situations. I had my first bathhouse experience in this marriage a couple of times. The first time I was scared. I was so scared. And I know that's funny as a gay man to say afraid of a bathhouse, but I was naive and I was like, I have this bear chasing me. Like, this is not cute. And so then just getting thrown into the woods of all of it and not really knowing where I'm going or what I'm doing, and just kind of being told what I'm going to do.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so for me, like, ultimately, I did what I did out of love, and I did what I did out of trying to make a marriage work.
Wow.
That was something that I was always taught. Like, we don't walk away from it. We fix it. We work through it.
And then jumping to when you found out you were diagnosed.
Yeah. So I had known that I was not okay for about a year and a half, and insurance isn't free. At least we didn't think so at the time. Me being Native American, it is cost efficient. And so that was like a big reason not to go to the hospital, at least on his end. We don't have the money. COVID's becoming prominent. So anytime anybody gets sick, we wonder if it's COVID. It got to a point where I couldn't breathe.
Oh,
And I don't
wow.
know how much more clear something like that can be. I got to a point where I couldn't breathe. I'd lost dramatic amounts of weight. I went in weighing 113 pounds, and my blood oxygen level, I believe they said, was a 75, which is dangerously low. And so just bouncing in and out of consciousness, going into a hospital, mind you, it's a student hospital. It's a university hospital. So people are using us as guinea pigs. And just feeling really isolated, not knowing what's going on, not knowing what's happening, just knowing that I can't breathe.
Wow.
So bouncing in and out of consciousness, being willed away, and immediately being worked on, and realizing that I'm in an ICU unit. And I'm not in, like, your traditional ICU unit, because COVID was prominent at the time. So that took precedence. Just having a lot of blood taken and just being scared, not having answers immediately.
I'm so sorry you had to go through
And
all
what
of that.
what did the doctor ultimately tell you?
So the doctor came back, the cardiologist came back the next day and said, you have PJP pneumonia. And this is kind of after he's cleared the room, and it was just him and I, and he said, you have PJP pneumonia. And I said, okay, what's that mean? And usually don't hear alphabets in front of pneumonia. And he said, it's specific to somebody living with HIV.
Oh, wow.
And so your head starts to spin and you feel like you're going to fall apart at any time. So he walks out of the room and he says, I'm going to give you guys, some privacy. Walks out of the room, and I turned and looked at him and I said, if this isn't something that you can do, if this isn't something that you can live with,
Meaning your
then
husband.
yes, then, I understand if you want to leave. And his response was less than endearing. And he said, if I leave, it's because you're an asshole.
What?
And I then was influenced, and he said, this has to be your secret, and you can never tell anybody. Nobody's ever going to love you. I have a couple of moms on here that I know watching that are like moms to me, and they had both reached out, and he had ignored text messages, ignored phone calls. I'm not somebody that ever like just disappears. Like if I'm gone, people are looking. I tend to be the social butterfly. And so being there, I told him, I said, we can't do these parties. We can't host these orgies. We can't go to these orgies. Like our lives need to change, at least for now, because COVID, they said if I'd caught COVID, I would have died. And so, in the process of all of this,
what was his response, Jonathan? I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you.
He agreed initially. And I just trying to move past the initial shock of you're an asshole. And I'm just sitting here thinking like I gave a lot for this and I'm the asshole. So he goes and gets tested and comes back. And that's his response to this is what really kicked me in the gut. About as bad as telling me I'm an asshole. He came back and said, I have syphilis, but I'm negative.
Oh,
and
wow.
It was kind of like a ha ha, I don't have this, but you do situation. And so I stayed in a hospital room for 5 days and 5 nights by myself. He came 2 of those 3 nights. I couldn't leave a bed. I couldn't go to the bathroom on my own. I couldn't bathe on my own. I couldn't do anything on my own. So before I left, they had brought in a really cute PT guy that I never saw again. And they made me walk the halls, and I had to use a walker at 27 years old, and I had to like learn how to walk again and do all these things. And then getting home was difficult because I have now a million pills that I'm taking, trying to treat something, trying to take care of an immune system, all of those things, still not able to do things on my own. Wow. And so it was a week after, I'll never forget this. It was a week after I got out of the hospital. He had taken on an office job and he had called me and said, I'm not going to be home after work. I'm going to an orgy. I'll see you in about 4 hours.
Wow.
4 hours at the orgy. Wait a minute now.
Right. So, and it started to really dig, and I got on the phone with my sister and I bawled my eyes out, and I was like, I'm just never going to be enough. I'm just never going to be enough. And the thing that I would say is important for people living with it and not living with it is it's important to know numbers. I know that math is not everybody's strong suit, but it's basic. You have 2 numbers that matter, and I'm only bringing this up because it will kind of give you an idea of the state I was in. A CD4 count is basically the amount of cells, white blood cells, fighting anything in your body. So your average adult human has 360 plus CD4 count. I had a CD4 count of 8.
Wow.
So to put that in perspective, that's like that of a toddler, like a newborn that just comes in. A viral load, pretty self-explanatory. It's the amount of HIV antibodies in your cells. I had over 1 million.
Oh, wow.
So if this had been the 80s, they would have clearly diagnosed full-blown AIDS. And there would have been no, I would have probably been dead within, a month. So really grateful for science, grateful for where things have come and gone.
Yeah, I know, Kodi, you wanted to ask a little bit about misdiagnosis, right?
Oh, yes. How did you deal with not being properly diagnosed, and what made you want to share your story with us?
So I have friends that were diagnosed before I was. And I have had guys on Grindr and the apps that are like, I'm HIV positive. And you're like, ooh. Very misinformed. Very, very misinformed. And so I had a friend recently, and I was telling Stevie this a couple weeks ago. I have a friend who is 25 years old and just got a diagnosis of HIV. And he called me at 4:00 in the morning and he said, can you talk? And I said, what's up? And I'm, half awake, and he had a gun to his head.
Oh no.
And so it's one of those things that, like, coming on here, talking to you guys, it's important to inform and educate and break something. I believe, like, when you guys had addressed my question and I hadn't come on air yet, Stevie had mentioned that he had a partner in the 90s that called it the bug. Well, I wish that I could just refer to it as the bug and kind of go on. You can't. And it doesn't really help with the apps and the language and the way that it's addressed, per se. But going back to the question of, like, what I wanted to do with the initial, like, misdiagnosis, I literally went to a friend's house, fell apart. She lived on the 5th story of an apartment building, and I'd went outside to smoke a cigarette, and she caught me on the other side of the railing. And just as I was about to let go, she caught me.
Wow.
So I feel like it's important to, like, have your tight-knit group. You're going to lose people over it. That's what I have learned. You're going to lose people, but do you really want them is the thing. And I mean, I can kind of contribute that as something that you guys had given me, a while back when we initially talked about this, and you guys had said, do you really want those people in your life? There's a tendency to want to be popular, I feel like. And so it really hurts when it's friends of, 10 plus years or 5+ years that suddenly aren't friends anymore. And it's really just not hard to go and get educated. And it's really important to know your numbers and know your status.
Talk About Gay Sex, TAGSPodcast, is sponsored by BetterHelp. Hey there, so it's a new year, and it's super important for me to feel and operate at my best. I love producing our shows, I love working out, hanging with friends and loved ones, and experiencing new things. It's important for me to feel and operate at my best, both mentally and physically, but to be honest, sometimes life gets in the way. Things bring you down and you're not operating at your peak. You're feeling overwhelmed or anxious. Maybe you're not sleeping well. Therapy can be such a great tool to implement into your life to address a variety of issues you may be experiencing. A good therapist is like a really good coach who's on your side. I can tell you from personal experience, therapy helped me with a relationship. We just weren't communicating very well and we were arguing a lot. Jealousy was a big factor for me, and trust. Therapy helped me communicate what I was feeling. It allowed my partner to hear me clearly, and therapy gave me the tools so that I could move forward in a healthy way because I was feeling agitated and stuck. BetterHelp is a great option for you to consider if you're thinking about trying therapy. It's completely online, and you can do it in the comfort of your home. Even better, to help you find the right therapist, you simply fill out an online form to determine the right type of therapist, and rest assured you can always switch therapists with no issues. BetterHelp is also very affordable because, in my mind, therapy should be available to anyone that wants to try it out. If you want to live a more empowered life, therapy can help you get there. Visit betterhelp.com/tags today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/tags, TAGS. Hey guys, your buddy Steve V here, and Valentine's Day is vastly approaching, and you've heard me talk about the guy that I've gone on 3 dates, about to go on a 4th date, and I'm really looking forward to Valentine's Day. I've never been into the holiday that much, but this particular year with this guy, I am. We both love good food. We're going to go to a restaurant, and then we're going to come back at night and continue the party together and make it happen. I'm very excited about this and to tell you more about what goes on. Valentine's Day can cause a lot of anxiety for so many of us. Believe me, I get it. It's supposed to be like the sexiest day of the year, but I ask you this question. Are you ready? I mean, Roman ready for sex? Intimacy is so important for all of us. I can speak for myself with this new partner that when you are connected with somebody, you have better sex. And better sex means better happiness. Am I right? Roman is here for you because they address a variety of sexual health needs for us men here. Roman offers genuine medication that can help achieve and maintain a strong erection. Roman also offers discreet wipes that help you last up to 4 times longer in bed. And we talk so much about knowing your testosterone levels here at Tags Podcast. Roman can help you treat low testosterone and help revive your sex drive. Roman has testosterone testing and treatment. The best thing about Roman is everything is online. You don't have to wait in long lines. There's no hassle. Roman sends everything to you right to your door with free shipping. And get this, it's in discreet packaging. So to get ready, and I mean Roman ready for better sex this Valentine's Day, go to ro.co/tags today to get 20% off your entire first order. Do it by February 8th for guaranteed shipping in time. That's ro.co/tags, TAGS. Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things you shared with me when we had a pre-call is that there's a lot of misconceptions. You are now undetectable, correct? And untransmittable. You equals you. It took a minute to get to that point, but even you hear us talk about on the show, on the apps, that there's still misconceptions about that when you go, say, on Grindr or some of the apps on how people are treated. And there's still, tell us a little bit about the fetishization that you were telling me about that you can get even with being HIV positive today.
Oh my God. So I feel like, first off, I wanted to seclude myself. So I can't imagine like being positive, being detectable, knowing what that feels like, why you would want to do that to somebody else. But there's a whole fetish about it. I've literally like had guys like, are you HIV positive? Yeah, well, I want you to infect me. And it's really concerning as to like, why is this a thing? Like, why is this a thing that like we want this? And part of me feels like it's for attention. Part of me feels like it's for like, I want people to feel sorry for me. And I'm really not somebody like, I don't like help. And I have friends that like, the friend that is turning his life around, the one that had called me, he was extremely upset. And the first thing he did was go and find counseling and deal with that. And I wouldn't say he's living his life in denial, but he's living his life as best as he can with getting that kind of news so quickly. And I'm proud of him for that. And I told him, I said, I'm proud of you. I love you. I'm here for you. Like I understand it. Going a little bit back with like my ex, even after the whole him going to orgies things, like there were 2 separate times that he told me I should just go kill myself, that I should just not exist, that I've lost my purpose in this world, that nobody will ever love me. In which the last time he did that to me, I was at a 4th of July pool party at a gay hotel. And he said it in front of a bunch of gays that we both knew. And I looked at one of our friends and I was like, I bet he would, make out with me. And my ex was like, I doubt he will. Well, he did. And we ended up like spending 6 hours together, really just talking. And I fell apart. And he was the first person that we got on the topic of prep, and he had
Mhm.
said, "I'm on prep. What about you?" And that was the dreaded, like, I don't want to answer this. Like,
Mhm.
I
Right.
don't want this. And I fell apart after trying to say it 4 times. I fell apart, and I was like, it's too late for me. And
Yeah.
after saying that 3 times, I had to try to come out and say it, and I made it past the HI and collapsed on the V.
Oh, man.
And
Oh.
he was just shook. He was like, "Why is this a thing?" And I said, "Because nobody's gonna love me." And he said,
Aw.
"I have to be enough for you right now."
Oh, that's so beautiful. Well, I'm glad you got that kind of support from somebody, and that because you really deserve to be supported and loved. And a little birdie told me that you're dating somebody now.
Mhm.
How have your experiences affected your decisions in dating right now?
Um, it takes me a minute to really just let somebody in. Um, the rumor is on the block, because I don't really pay attention to a lot of people, that I'm just stuck up and snooty. I'm like, okay, well, I'll be stuck up and snooty. Um, I don't let just anybody in.
Mhm.
And it takes a lot, or it takes a lot of alcohol, whichever comes first. Um, it takes a lot for me to trust somebody, and I have to really feel like I can trust somebody. And
Mhm.
I'm learning that it's really better to start as friends,
Wow.
because it's easier to tell a friend than it is to tell a potential partner. If you're friends with them and they see you for who you are, and they know that, and it's not something scary to them, then it's not as intimidating. And I feel like that's really how it should be. It's like we should all kind of start as friends, because if I can't be friends with you, chances are I can't date you.
It's true.
So, yeah.
You know, Johnny, I've been reflecting a little bit about it, and I didn't even write this question down, but it's something that I think a lot of us on the show, I think a lot of us are on prep these days. I think a lot of us think that HIV doesn't exist anymore and it's not happening. But your story tells us that we still need to be careful with it. People can still get it. You are such a great example of somebody who got it more recently and are living healthy now, but we still need to look out for our brothers and sisters that get it a little like more recently. And what would be your messaging to people that maybe aren't on prep, that are get it a diagnosis today, because people are still getting diagnosed in 2023 with
Mhm.
HIV?
I would say, first off, and I mean, I had an appointment with my physician this morning, and we were talking about, I'm actually on a drug called Cabenuva. It's fairly new. Um, Before, when I got diagnosed, I was on the good old Biktarvy that you see on TV.
Yep.
You see healthy people living lives. Biktarvy is great. It was my stepping stone to where I needed to go.
Mhm.
With Cabenuva, it's a shot. So I go every 2 months and get shots and have insurance. That's the key. Have insurance that pays for it all. Because they're $14,000 for both
Oh
shots.
my God.
Yeah.
Good night.
But the thing that I would say is that be understanding. Know your status. Know where you stand. Really know that person. I get it. Hookups are fun. I'm still guilty of that. But I feel like with the people on prep, what is it hurting?
Mhm.
I've met people that are like, oh, well, since you're undetectable, I don't need to take prep. Why do I need that? And it's not really fair to put all the work on one person.
Correct. Good
And
point.
it's just like the pandemic. That's kind of the reason how Cabenuva came about, is that the COVID treatment now is made half and half. It's half of a drug that they use to treat pneumonia, and then the other half is an HIV medication. And so with COVID, something glorious did come out. It was research on HIV. And getting the shot, and that's what I would tell people that get diagnosed. Get diagnosed early enough that you don't have to have a daily reminder of a pill. You can get a
Mhm.
shot. Um, and that when I got the shot, the doctor who had administered the shot on me literally nursed me back from death. Like, he was the one that saw me at 113 pounds barely being able to breathe. And he got really choked up, and he was like, this is amazing. And what's even more amazing, he said, HIV science has come such a long way that within the next 10 years, there should be a cure palpable for anybody to have.
Oh, wow. That's
but they're
beautiful.
taking the Cabenuva people first because your CD4 count and your viral load has to be at a certain level at all times before they'll even consider that when it becomes available down the road. So, yeah.
Well, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing. And Eric Lamar also says, thank you for sharing your experience. And he wants to know, what are some do's and don'ts for comforting a friend recently diagnosed?
I feel like regardless of a situation, you won't know until you're in that situation. And as somebody that lives with it, it's not a situation that I would wish on anybody. So just really be there, be a listening ear, be somebody that they can lean on, be somebody that they can talk to. I had a lot of people that are like, oh, I'm so sorry. I understand. You don't understand. And be grateful you don't understand. Because until you're in that situation, you won't really truly grasp it. You can be empathetic. You can be understanding. You can give a lending ear and a helping hand when they need it, because they will need it. And just let it be known that you're there, ultimately.
Beautiful.
I love that.
That's so great. Well, I just want to acknowledge you. I know that it's not easy to be open about this type of thing on any type of platform. And I just want to acknowledge you for how brave you are and how compassionate you are. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
James Hart, also watching us live tonight, says, thank you for sharing You Equals You. It's very important as well. Absolutely. And it sounds like it took a minute for you, Johnny, to get to that point based on a misdiagnosis. Wouldn't you agree with that? But I assume that now you are healthy and doing well?
I weigh a solid 170 pounds.
Oh, okay.
Which even pre-diagnosis, the most I ever weighed was like 130. So being 29, being so close to 30, I think it's true that metabolism slow down. What a time. I squeezed my ass pretty short. But it's one of those things of like, never take it for granted. And I think something that has kept me humble is, if you haven't seen it, you should watch it. I screwed up and watched it right after diagnosis. Watch it either as somebody living with it or just an ally to it. There's a docuseries on Hulu called Pride.
Okay.
And it follows the decades of gay community. And it got to the 80s and I fell apart, because that's when you see this transition. And it really humbled me, because I felt like if we saw that mindset, if science wasn't where it was, I wouldn't be here, ultimately.
Well, we are really happy you are here, Johnny. You've been such an inspiration in telling your story, and we really thank you. We want to know if we want to have you back on the show again for sure. But would you want to stick around for some hot topics for the rest of the show?
Yes.
Okay.
She's down to party. I love it.
Since we gave you advice on a past episode, we're hoping that you will give some advice to one of our listeners. And Jake B wrote into us earlier today, and he actually wanted some advice for a total newbie to both anal and oral. That's all he wrote. The thing about it is, Jake B watching us, is that Dr. Goldstein is coming on the show next Tuesday, episode 439, who's going to really break down bottoming, anal, whether you're a top or a bottom, mostly for the bottoms, but really tops, you're going to learn a lot about your bottoms on how, just so much. I just edited the show. It comes out Tuesday. So let's just focus then on Jake B's advice that he wants. How, because I read his whole thing. He's bisexual and really new to oral. I mean, the most obvious thing that I can say, if I was just thinking at the top of my head, is don't use your teeth. Like, no teeth on your dick when you're giving oral. But Johnny, what would be your advice for a newbie to giving oral?
I'm going to build on top of that. Make fun of grandma the entire time. I know that sounds awkward, but like wrap those lips over those teeth. You're right. Nobody wants that. Really know if you have a gag reflex and know if you have a gag reflex, and brushing your teeth does not count. I tell people I don't have a gag reflex, but I'm the worst at like brushing my teeth and they're like, what happened to no gag reflex? I'm like, it's small. It's small.
So you need something bigger is what you're telling us.
Right. And you have to know your limits. You have to know your limits. Yeah.
Okay. I love that.
Kodi?
I'm going to say pay attention to the whole dick. It's not just the head. It's not just the balls or the scrotum. It's the perineum, which is your taint or what have you. And just use your tongue as much as possible and make it wet. Act like you love the dick and make it wet. That's all my advice.
That's really good advice, and I'm just going to piggyback on both of yours, is that it's a dick, it's attached to somebody. Don't forget that it is attached to somebody. Look up at them, eye contact as well. Enjoy the moment. I think sometimes we think it's a blow job, like a work job, and it's not a job. It's pleasure that you're giving to somebody else, and don't be afraid to use verbal cues. Look up at the person, work on the head, the area B. There's so many little areas on the penis that have so many receptors on there, and you can really go down on it in various ways, and it's just a lot of fun. Somebody watching us live right now, Eric says, if the guy isn't making, oh my goodness, I just lost that comment.
If the guy isn't making comments, then you're not doing it right. Eric Lamar says.
Exactly. And Eli, also watching us live, says, as far as anal, take it slow, and if it's painful, stop. Yep, good. What does Xavier say?
Best advice is to believe in yourself. So, and your throat is more accommodating than you think. Oh my gosh, that's great advice.
I just want to reference one of my favorite movie scenes ever.
Okay.
Oh, not it's a porn movie.
No, it's Tiffany Haddish in Girls Trip.
Oh, yeah.
And she's giving advice to Jada's character, and she said, grapefruit him. And she shows her how to take the grapefruit, and she's just like doing this with it. Just grapefruit him. Know your limits. Because she really stuck that grapefruit like right here, and like so it butted up, so it went past the teeth.
Oh, okay. You know what? That looked like it burned. I'm not going to co-sign that one. I'm sorry. The juicy, but I will. The juice. I don't want that in my pee hole. I'm okay.
I love it. Moving on, we are giving more advice from a Reddit thread, and I chose Kodi to choose the Reddit that he wanted to read. So, Kodi, which one did you choose?
I want to hear Johnny's perspective on the I'm 37 and I've reached a point where sex without intimacy is no longer attractive.
Ooh, yes. Okay, let's do that one. Read it.
Okay. Oh, okay. All right. Dating advice.
If you don't want to, I'll do it if you want.
Go ahead, babe.
Okay, yes. So this one, we really want your perspective, Johnny. So it's dating advice. It comes from a Reddit thread from Ask Gay Bros Over 30. Hello, gentlemen. I'm 37, and I've reached a point where sex without intimacy is no longer attractive. A brief history. I used to enjoy hookups and the animalistic nature of anonymous type encounters, but when I fucked up and fell in love, but then I fucked up and fell in love. Was a great few years before it wasn't. After we ended, I tried getting back out into the scene. After several attempts, I've noticed I wasn't into it as before. Something was missing. It was intimacy. I no longer enjoy sex without intimacy. If given the choice between hooking up or jerking off, I'll jerk off. So I asked the question, how should I go about trying to date? Should I just shoot my shot in my profile text and say I'm interested in men who are open to emotional connections and hope for the best? How would you communicate this to other gay men? It's an interesting commentary because I think we all love sex. I love a good hot hookup moment, but the ones that are the most special to me that are a combination of pounding and all that good stuff with some intimacy involved. And I'm not mad at this guy for looking for that. It's easier said than done. But Johnny, what are your thoughts on what this person's going through? And do you like intimacy when you hook up with somebody?
So I find myself being the one that's intimate first. And I think that's
Oh.
just in my nature. I'm a Capricorn.
Me
I
too. Oh my God. Stop
yeah,
that.
hi, our
This is
sisters.
why I
No.
had you on the show.
But
You know, we
I
are Capricorn. I mean, okay, I'm going to stop.
I'm a Cancer,
I
if anybody
oh,
cares.
well, I
No
mean,
one was
cancers are
asking.
fun.
Oh my God,
Cancers
that
are
But
fun.
told me everything I needed to know.
But I feel like I saw a quote
Johnny,
that
the
kind of
Capricorn, is speaking. So let's go, Johnny.
I saw a quote somewhere that really kind of stuck with me, and I try to apply it to every aspect of life. And it said, "You miss 100% of the shots that you don't take." So shoot your
Like
shot,
shots.
obviously.
Oh, that kind of shot. Yeah.
Yeah. That too. But I feel like for me personally, and maybe it's just because I've been out of the game for so long, um, the current situation was like a frivolous little hookup, and I was like, okay, this is fun. And then it turned into like he came back 4 times in 1 week, and I was like,
Oh.
okay, so can we just like make this a friends with benefits situation? And he was like, I don't do that. That's awkward. And I'm like, okay. Well, then he came back and brought it up, and so here we are. I think I'm with him. I would rather jack off than go to town. It does get boring. It gets boring. But nobody knows you better than you do. And I found that like I don't have to go through the awkward, okay, goodbye, and like, do I block this number? Do I block this profile, or do I just keep moving? It's not worth
Yeah.
it.
I mean,
Yeah.
Kodi, it's such an interesting concept. I mean, I think I would argue that we're all looking for intimacy, even when it is in our hookups. I mean, yes, sometimes we want wham bam, thank you, ma'am, thank you, sir. But sometimes you, even in those hot moments, you want a connection. Would you agree? And I love how our audience is showing their Aries. Some of
I
them
know,
are
right? They're telling
Pisces,
us
Team
all their
Aries.
zodiac signs.
Yeah.
I
There's
feel
a
But
like I'm in a
Capricorn.
Ludacris song.
Capricorn was the original stated sign that, or
Oh,
the
was
origin
it?
of it all. It's the
Oh,
origins
was
of it
it?
all. I'm
Oh,
just, yeah, it
I'm
starts off
sorry.
the
I
whole
must have been
zodiac.
confused about that.
Yeah.
So what I'm gonna say is that I definitely reached the same point that this gentleman met. I was going out to the bars, having random hookups, and I wasn't feeling fulfilled. So I think that at that point I realized that it does take intimacy and a connection really in order for me to have more satisfying sex. There's always, when I'm with my boyfriend now for a little over 2 years, and the sex is so much better because we have a connection, and because we love each other so much. So I feel like because of that, it really amplifies things. So I feel like that was what I was missing, and I feel like that's what this guy is missing as well. So I do agree that it's better.
And I would just piggyback off of that, that as I'm going on a fourth date tomorrow with a guy
Mm-hmm.
that I've been seeing that I keep talking about on this show, that it's taken a minute to get to, we met on the naked beach,
Mm-hmm.
and we had like a moment where, it was sexual, but we've been really getting to know each other. And then the third date, we really got into the sexuality of it all. And
Mm-hmm.
that's when I locked him down into like, are you more into top or bottom? We didn't even get to the story that I really wanted to. Maybe Cody's going to be hosting the show next Wednesday.
Yes.
And it's such a good topic about how we date and all that. So maybe you'll pick up the baton on that one, because it's a
Mm-hmm.
really good topic. But
Yep.
I do think we are all, as much as we want hot gay sex, and that's our tagline at the end of every show, that I think that we are also looking for intimacy as well. That's like a part of our makeup. I'm just going to put it out there. I do think that we are all looking for that. Not always. There's moments when you just want to get pounded, but I think we are all looking for that. Did you want to add one thing, Johnny, before we move on?
Yeah, I just kind of feel like sometimes I found myself saying, I don't really know what I want. Like, you like the idea of it, and I think that's why hookups happen initially, is because you're intimidated by it. But then, like, when you're Kodi here that has a boyfriend for 2 years, and like every time you have sex, it's like the Titanic. It's just explosive.
I don't know that he said all that, but
I mean, it does mean more.
But it is, though. I mean, it reverberates through our apartment
building.
building.
Down in Brooklyn.
Right.
There.
I'm a screamer now.
I smack a mouth. He screamed the first time we did it. He said, and I said, no, I have neighbors.
All right, it's time to move on. I'm done with this topic. Anyway, it's time for Thirst Trap, and I cannot wait for it. I put it in the chat line for all of us, and the goal is by our favorite Thirst Trap. Straight Up Gay Porn puts this out, and they asked the question this week, out of 17 gay porn stars, who took the best photo or video? You can vote on this, and we want you to vote on it. And listeners, if you're listening to this on the replay, go to TAGSPodcast.com, episode 438, and you can see what we're talking about. But it's our job to descriptively describe who took the best photo of the week. And Kodi, let's start with you.
Oh, I get to go first. I love it. First of all, I think that I'm sensing a theme with these shower pics. I got to do one for myself. I think that is the way to go. A trend alert right there. That being said, my vote goes to a shower pic. Who would have guessed? Josh Malaz. He's maybe about halfway down. It's a really good picture, and he's just beautiful. Even I had my boyfriend come in and do it with me, and that's the one he picked as well. He's in a shower. It looks like he just finished washing up because he's slightly wet and kind of dry because he has his towel in front of his penis, and that's the only thing that's covered up. He's got a perfect body. He's got a beautiful face, and his arm is raised, and he's running his hand through those luscious wet locks, and that's my favorite picture for this week.
I love it. And Johnny, we want you to weigh in. Who is your favorite that took the best photo or video of the week?
I'm so split.
You can have a couple.
I just want everybody to win. No, I really like Blake Mitchell. But I also really like, where did he go? Oh, right here. Nico Koopa.
So tell us why you like Nico Koopa to a audio podcast listening audience.
It seems like he's into yoga. Just the stance that he's got going on here. And he's rocking some Nike tube socks. So shout out to him for the good old tube socks. I kind of like the tattoo. And his endowment is staring him in the face. It doesn't look like it has a curvature of any kind. It's like a flagpole.
I love it. And for my pick, it was either Cameron Newton, who is holding his dick up proud with his sleeve of a tattoo right in your face with a super confident look on his face and really thick thighs. But I have to say, was that Cameron Newton? I think it was. I'm a little confused. No, it was Derek Cage is who I'm talking about.
Oh.
But Josh Moore XXX is doing a video where he is dripping cum out of his cock, sitting in a chair, playing with his nipples and going crazy, where who's going to lick it up? And he writes the quote, 50% off my whole month of February for new subscribers. I'm considering joining Josh Moore XXX just based on that, because it's super hot and I love it. So we are live, and Xavier says Dom King got his fancy. Eric Lamar says the hand tats are hot. I guess referring to how I was. Theo Brady is who he's voting for. The hand tats are hot. James Hart says Johnson Poppy. Eli Vasquez says Jacob Acosta, who we've talked about on the show before. So yeah. And you listening audience, you can vote for yourself. We want everyone to vote on Straight Up Gay Porns because they provide us with this content. Thank you so much. We really want to thank our special guest, Jonny, for joining the show. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I really think it's going to resonate with so many of our listeners, and for being so open with your story. It really means a lot to us.
I try.
Thank you,
Absolutely.
Jonny.
We'll have you back. Absolutely. I want to thank my co-host, Kodi. He's a life coach. Follow him at KMD Coaching or at Mr. Maurice on Instagram. Follow us at TAGSPodcast. Thanks, guys. So much fun. Close out the show with us, Jonny. And in the meantime, continue having hot, gay
sex.